you're an editor.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in the skill of editing, because editing, when I think about editing, I think of quality decision making.
Yeah.
How do you teach quality decision making?
Skilling up editors, you mean?
Yeah.
It's a complex and not a complex process. I think that you just need to be discerning. There are for certain types of editing, so we do developmental and structural editing of books, but there's also copy editing and proofreading, which are separate skills, and they sometimes require, well, I would prefer that they required qualifications, because you know how to format a manuscript, you know proofreading marks, you know, there's a kind of language that goes with it. And some people say, yes, I'm a freelance this, that or the other, and you don't really know, that you need a good portfolio, you need a quality assurance. Everything that I work for in my job is about quality assurance. How do you trust this person? And for an editor at the moment, you can grab an editor from anywhere. I mean, the advantage for us is that I manage a team of 90 editors. They've all worked in publishing, they're all published writers themselves in their field, or they have a background in creative writing, tutoring at high level, so at postgraduate level. And that's the kind of safeguard that our clients want. You can go somewhere else, you can go to kind of a forum, you can go where people are bidding for each other, but whatever you do, you need to make sure that the person is the right editor for you. So, a client can come to me, I've got 90 to choose from. I know almost immediately from looking at their work who might be good in terms of their temperament, their approach, their methodology, the genre that they work in, whether they work better with novice writers or advanced writers, what kind of response they'll give.
Can I ask, does race or gender ever come into that?
Into
the process of editing, like in a way that's, even myself, my experience of in academia has been I've tend to people who I feel didn't understand where I was coming from.
Yeah, it does come into it, and yet we've got to be really careful. So for example, at work at the moment we are thinking a lot around running something called the Quality Writing for All campaign across our funding period, because we're 20% funded by Arts Council England, and part of that is thinking around the diversity question in a wider sense than it's just about race. I mean, what does diversity mean in terms of opportunity, in terms of access, in terms of experience? And so one of those things is when you're matching editors with writers, on the one hand, I want somebody who's got the right kind of affinity with the subject, but affinity might mean they've been to that place, it might mean they're from that place, or it might mean they read widely around things that are related to that place. And I don't think that we need necessarily, and in fact we had an editor, she's brilliant, and she works across, she's quite niche, she specialises in South Asian literature, but diasporic and also set in the areas. But she also does politics, she's got a background in international politics, so she can do kind of crime thrillers with, international political aspects, or more academic stuff. I don't want to, and I've talked to her openly about this, I don't want to insult her by only chucking every South Asian writer we get her way, because that's not necessarily an immediate match. It needs to go beyond that. Equally, there are not enough, and I don't have enough editors on my book, for instance, who have experiences from all of those different cultures. Still got, between, say maybe 15%, I think on our last count, are diverse, but also we haven't asked them to declare that. So that's me saying I know that they're from this culture or background. It's not me doing a poll and saying, please declare whether you consider yourself diverse, because I think that the statistic might be different. So
do you identify as a writer of colour?
I've never had cause to think of myself as a writer of colour or a writer who's anything but a writer. But recently, I think with this whole diversity debate being so big in the news and in the publishing world, which I work within, my sense of frustration at it is such that I cannot help now but say, yes, I do identify as a writer of colour, as someone and also from East Asia, because frankly, East Asia is not well represented. You think of Asia and you get a slew of South Asian writers doing well, which is wonderful and more should, but there's this tendency to kind of see Asia as one thing. And even beyond Japan, there's all sorts of, Malaysia's doing amazing things in sci-fi at the moment. So yes, I do feel like it's become a point of necessity for me to declare myself a writer of colour.
Cool. Now. And this is something that I'm thinking to introduce to the format of this show. You've bought me a book called The Ink Dark Moon, and I can't wait to get into it. Why have you bought this today?
I brought the book along because it features thinking of myself as a writer of colour from Japan. I brought along, these are two courtly women who were prominent in Japan and wrote amazing kind of micro poetry, really, in the Japanese form. And I think that's something that I identify with, and they're incredible.
You see there, each page, each poem on each page seems to be about 5 lines long.
There's anything from tanka to haiku to renga, various things that I'm discovering now, really late to the game on them. Obviously I know haiku, but beyond that I didn't know. So these are also kind of exchanges and dialogue in poetry. Fantastic. So you'd have this, like I was telling you before, you'd have this amazing thing where if you wanted as a man to approach a woman in the court and start a courtship, you would have to approach her with a poem, with a 5-line poem. Cool. And she would deliberate and respond and then invite you to a kind of clandestine night, which would be judged in poetry. I think that's amazing.
Where can we find out more about you and your projects?
Mainly, I live on Twitter now. I'm at Aki Schilz. Also lostlit.com, we've got our magazine up and all of the information about our Write Club is on there as well, and my work for editing and also bursaries that we offer. We run a nationwide bursary scheme to encourage writers to develop their skills, and editors as well. We have an editing workshop coming on that we are offering bursaries for diverse editors.
Amazing, thank you. Ray recommends.